What's up, guys? We're here trying a NFL mock draft. A couple days before the real thing. One of the few sporting events actually still going on right now. With two of my buddies that know football a little bit more than I do, Brad and Coleman. Um, do you guys want me to talk about your accolades? Why you
I
guys are
mean,
better
it's
than me?
how long do you want the show to go?
I
Like three
know.
hours?
Well, we can say that uh, the one that just talked there, that's Coleman. So you did at least a little bit of sports writing, right? So
Yeah,
so that beats
yeah. What's
me.
a teeny weensy bit?
And then Brad, Brad, you want to say hi?
Hello.
You, I like to say that you're a former professional Madden player. Is that fair?
I'm a former professional e-athlete, is what we like to be called in the industry.
Okay. Well, I apologize for messing it up there.
Cultural consideration.
I know, and I am here. So, um, so we're going through this draftnetwork.com, the mock draft machine. That's the first time I'm using this, so this is something that Brad sent to me, and we're going to try it out. We're going to kind of alternate picks, and our goal is to kind of do what we think is going to happen, not necessarily what we think we would do. Not like we're the GM, but what we think the actual GMs will do. Uh, just one round so that it stays moderately short. And we're not going to try any trades or anything because, well, number one, I think you guys told me you'd have to pay for it on here, and it would just get way too convoluted, right?
It'd be a little complicated.
Yeah, I think so. So we have a preset order. It's more or less just alternating through the three of us, but we did kind of flip flop a couple here and there, so that Brad has Cincinnati's pick because he's a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Coleman has Cleveland's pick because he's a Cleveland Browns fan, and then I have the two Las Vegas picks, and that is super weird to say, and not Oakland. It hurts my soul just a little bit.
I forgot about that.
I know it. I've already messed it up so
I
much.
saw the
I
saw the LV and I was just like, what is he doing?
Right. Yeah. Anything else before we just jump into it? I guess we can make the picks and just kind of talk about it as we go.
We can mention like who we would draft.
Yeah.
This position versus who's actually there.
Maybe.
And just go.
Yeah, if you think maybe a trade would happen in real life or something like that, you could talk about that too. I guess before we start, apologies if there's poor quality on this. I don't have my normal microphone here, so hopefully you guys do end up hearing it. We tried a test run a second ago, and this does sound better than it did a little bit ago. So, all right, Brad, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to select Joe Burrow, the greatest person that God has ever created. He is going to save my soul, my heart. If he's not the pick this Thursday, you guys may never hear from me again.
I was gonna say
100% serious.
Yeah, we might never see you again. So, for us to all stay on the same page, we each have this pulled up, and I need to click like draft for Joe Burrow, right?
Yeah, once you click it once, it's not going to have you confirm it. You just click it. So don't click it too many times because then you'll have to restart.
Gotcha.
Just click draft, and then it'll automatically
takes me
get to the next pick.
Okay, so to go off the Joe Burrow pick for just a little bit longer, I would say, in my eyes, that does seem like the obvious pick. I really hope for your sake that they don't make the mega trade with Miami or anything like that.
The mega trade with Miami is just unfeasible because they would have to give up the only trade I would think about accepting is all of their first and second round picks this year and next year. And then you also got to give me some players. Like, I'm going to need Xavier Howard, Jerome Baker, Mike Gesicki. I'm going to need more than just the picks. There's nothing more valuable than a quarterback, franchise quarterback on his rookie deal.
It honestly is probably not worth it for either team to make the trade.
No, I mean, if you're giving up that many assets, I mean, good luck over the next 3 years. You're going to have to make the decision on his fifth-year option, and he's going to be throwing to, like, Raleigh fingers. Like, come on, fingers. Ain't going to happen.
Wow, that's a deep dive right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the perfect pick because the Bengals, honestly, they have like a tremendous offense. I mean, the line needs to improve a little bit, but they were just unhealthy. I really think that like Joe is just the perfect quarterback because he just gets the ball like exactly where you need it. Like I'm pretty sure he could throw me open on like a go route, you know, like.
I would have been.
There's
like we
one.
joke on Wes Welker. I would have been Jerry. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Hey,
I would have been Jerry Rice. You're gonna have to bleep that.
it's all right. I got timestamps going.
All right.
Yeah, and, like plus man, he's the perfect pick. He's from Ohio. Like as long as he likes chili, there's nothing that's gonna stop him. From
He
being
doesn't. That's the thing.
All right, we ready to?
That's like go on. Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say we ready to move to Coleman's Redskins pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. Joe Burrow's just seems obvious. I mean, we can bask in his glory for years after this.
It's cliche, but like the draft really starts at pick 3. Like
Yeah.
the first 2 picks are clearly obvious.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a potential for a trade. I think maybe Detroit is asking too much. Maybe Washington would want to go down because they do have Ryan Kerrigan, do have Montez Sweat already as edge players, and like they have John Allen, they have Deron Payne. Like they have a pretty decent young, like outside of Kerrigan, offensive or defensive line. But Chase Young is just like, where's his flaw? He produced. He has all the athleticism. He has the bend around the edge. His hands are tremendous. He's a better prospect than both the Bosa's, which is insane to say. Like coming out, and I think it's like Joe. It's send it in.
No arguments there. I don't know. Makes sense to me.
No.
I don't think they're in a Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray situation. I don't think Haskins was that trash or anything year one.
If 2 were healthy, it'd be a
Then
conversation.
maybe, yeah.
Which, who did the Redskins just trade? Because they did get rid of a cornerback. Was it
Dunbar, I think.
Yeah, they traded Quentin Dunbar, and like I mean, Akuda, almost as good as a cornerback prospect as Young as a defensive end, but I think pass rush is just too important to not take Young.
In today's NFL, when you want to just like send 4 and drop everyone else back in coverage in a nickel defense, Chase Young just makes that so much easier.
Agreed.
All right, we on to Detroit?
Yep.
All right,
Sir.
so as you guys just mentioned, I think this is where the draft really kind of starts. This is where we're not very certain where the pick is. And this is where I could see Miami or LA jumping up. What do you guys think about that trade scenario before I make any pick? Do you think that's possible?
I just think Miami doesn't need to trade up just because they have no team can outbid Miami. So like I don't think a team's going to want to try.
Right.
I think Miami can like kind of like fake it where we could trade up, but we're just going to stay pat because no team they're going to outbid any team.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. Maybe...
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to beat him out, but I do find it very interesting. I've been seeing that like the Patriots want to move up.
I just don't know if they have the ammo. Is the thing.
Yeah, that was the thing. If they could have pick swapped with Gronk today, the Gronk news just happened earlier. Like,
yeah, it's true.
Some people were thinking they could, pick 23 and Gronk for pick 14. Then they get a little bit closer to where they got some ties with Belichick and Patricia and whatnot, but they don't have a second round pick this year, and it's just going to be tough. And no one's going to outbid Miami is the problem. You're never going to outbid Miami.
Any thought on the possibility of, let's say Miami's gun shy, or maybe they're okay just waiting until their later pick? Maybe Jacksonville trying to jump LA? I don't know. Does that seem just a little too...
Jacksonville's...
They're in the Minshew...
They're taking for Trevor.
Yeah, I can see that. I'll save this for later on. Okay, I'll go ahead and make my pick. I think it's Akuda here. That's pretty chalk as well. But getting rid of Slay, even though they got Trufant back, I think you need to start rebuilding that defense. And I think he's the pick if they stay there. If they stick and pick.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
All right, I think we're on to Brad with the Giants.
So I feel like they're gonna go offensive tackle. I feel like Wirfs or Becton. Gettleman loves big hog mollies. That's who Mekhi Becton is. Who's like 6'8", 360 pounds, runs faster than anybody. But I think I think they're also I think they want to go Isaiah Simmons here. Isaiah Simmons is gonna be who we all thought Miles Jack was gonna be. This dude literally plays every position.
I'm
on the
definitely
defense.
with you on that. He jumped into my mind watching
Where are
Isaiah
you
Simmons.
normally lining up Simmons though?
I'm probably gonna make him as like an overhang linebacker. That's where I'm gonna put him. But he can you trust him to have a curl flat, have a deep hook. You can put him in a deep third. You can make so many adjustments with your defense with someone like Isaiah Simmons.
I think it depends who
Yeah.
you're playing week to week too. If you're playing the Niners or something, okay, you got Kittle this week. I mean,
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's honestly he's a gap filler. Like, we're gonna be a little like weak in the pass rush this week. All right, Isaiah, you gotta.
you do
gotta
that
run
this
some
week, yeah, you got it. Is that where
Yeah.
you're going, Brad?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I'm going Isaiah Simmons.
All right.
There are going to be tackles you can have in the second round. There is not going to be.
There's not going to be Isaiah
chess
Simmons.
piece.
Yeah, chess piece. That's definitely a good call there.
pass.
Are we on to Coleman with Miami?
Yeah. I mean, everybody loves little Fitz magic, and they
I know
have
I do.
holes everywhere. I don't trust Devontae Parker or Mike Gesicki. I'm actually friends with the son of a guy whose dad is on the Miami Dolphins coaching staff, and he says that Mike Gesicki is softer than toilet paper. Like, he's a volleyball player. He just kind of was the beneficiary.
Okay.
Even though they need their weapons, they need somebody to get the ball to them. I don't like Justin Herbert, so they got to get Tua. But
I think that's probably the play here too. I mean, that was the Montreal season tank for Tua. So
exactly what I was gonna say. They gave away all their assets. They were doing it to tank for Tua. I don't know. I mean, I know there's extra context now, but like, this is what you did it for.
Right.
Yeah, and you still have Fitzpatrick, so if Tua is still a little gunshot, still a little banged up.
And I don't like the Mike Gesicki disrespect. He won me the Dynasty Championship this year.
Hey man, I'm just giving you
100 yards.
I'm just giving you my inside sources.
He's just the messenger. All right, so I have LA with the Chargers here. What do you guys think about the new uniforms?
They're fire.
I'm
so jealous.
I really like the yellow pants with the white top and the really dark blue, like borderline black ones that they had too. I'm into it.
It sucks that they couldn't capitalize more on this because, like, I feel like if they were still in San Diego, people would be more excited, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. They got the whole...
No, I think that...
I was going to say, they have, like, the whole, like, San Diego Superchargers, like chant going on then. That'd be cool, but...
Right. I mean, it would have been so much better. Yeah, people would have been way more excited if they were still in San Diego.
Okay, so for their pick, I think it has to be Herbert here. I don't know. They keep talking up that they liked Tyrod Taylor. I don't know. I think that's just smokescreen trying to get no one to really feel the need to jump them or anything like that. I think if Simmons was still there, they would think about it. Trying to make a defense with Derwin James and Isaiah Simmons would just be pretty nasty in general. But other than that, I think they got to go QB. Any thoughts or objections?
No, I mean, Bobby Dodd's homie better get it right.
I forgot about that.
I don't know if Herbert's the dude I would take here. Dude started 4 years at Oregon and never got significantly better. It's just...
There's something off.
I'm honestly not sure how much better of a quarterback he is than, like, Jacob Eason. And I don't think either one of them are that good, but you can get Eason in the third. But, yeah. I mean, I'm not an NFL scout.
Everything, like, on paper makes sense, but when you watch Herbert or if you like actually know what he's done, what he's amounted to, it just something's not there.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Yeah,
have,
yeah. You put it really good there.
Yeah.
Like it should make more sense than it does.
yeah, I'm definitely with you. Carolina, Brad's on the clock.
Well, this is the perfect Isaiah Simmons team. I mean, if you get to sub out Luke Kuechly
And just put
For-
Simmons right in.
for Isaiah for what?
I was just kind of reiterating what you were saying.
Why don't they already have Shaq Thompson that kind of plays that role?
I mean, but not like why not have Isaiah Simmons and Shaq Thomas is the thing.
Yeah.
They got Teddy B, so they ain't gonna trade up for a quarterback. I hated all the stupid Panthers fans that were talking about how we got Joe Brady, now we're gonna go get Joe Burrow. I don't like Carolina this way, and Carolina was always my second team. If the Bengals did something like
They wronged
not
you.
take Joe Burrow, I would have jumped to Carolina. So I'm kind of at odds with them. They'll probably do is just take Derek Brown. The dude is a monster.
That's where I would go
Yeah.
here too, or what
Yeah,
I would
he's-
expect.
Gotten a little picked apart. I think it's happened to Ed Oliver too, where the dude's so good and so dominant that people kind of got bored with him and just kind of like nitpicked at him. I still think he might be
Yeah.
on Chase Young's level.
Yeah, if
And
I remember, if
That's
you
who they're
look at
taking.
mocks from a few months ago, he was where Akuda was. I mean,
yeah, he was. That's
Like,
what I'm saying. I think people
I'm
got
with you.
bored and they just nitpick him to death.
Yeah, some people are even putting Javon Kinlaw over, and I don't get that.
Yeah,
I like
he,
Derek
Brown
Brown
so
not
much
that much.
he doesn't seem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going Derek Brown.
Yeah, he doesn't seem coached up enough, Kinlaw, to me. But, we moving on to Arizona with Coleman.
Hmm.
All right, Coleman, you got it.
Alrighty, let me get Kinlaw or Derek Brown drafted here. So Arizona, I mean, they just pulled off one of the greatest heists in the history of the NFL. Because
That trade's
I thought they
wild.
were for sure going to take CeeDee Lamb right here, but they got DeAndre Hopkins for the corpse of David Johnson in a second rounder, and they need an offensive tackle. And I was going to take Derek Brown right there. I think they need an offensive tackle more than anything. That dude from LSU, Clavon Chasen, I think I said that right.
Caleb on.
Caleb Chasen, yeah. He could fit in as an edge because they need after the Robert Kimdichie experiment did not pan out.
I thought he was going
They
to
have
be
one of
good.
the worst defenses in the world ever. But I think that Tristan Wirfs, he's super athletic. He doesn't really have for being 6'6", 315 pounds. His base really isn't. He doesn't have a low center of gravity, as Mike Mayock would always talk about. And sometimes he just gets rolled up way too easy, and when he's dealing with the pass rush. But he's such a good athlete. He dominated the combine. He ran a 4.86 at 315 pounds, which is crazy. And I think his broad jump was in the 99th percentile. He's definitely gonna need some coaching up, but in that offense, I think he won't be exposed as much because they do so many quick passes and get the ball out fast and keep Kyler moving. So I think he'll be a good fit in Arizona.
So that's worse, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought about Andrew Thomas and Becton, but I don't think that they really have the downhill running game where you can take
I'm with you.
advantage of Thomas and Becton in the running game. So that's why I think long term,
Yeah.
Wirfs will be better.
Like you were saying, Kingsbury and the air raid system, that's going to help him out, making everything real quick, like snap decisions. So I'm with you on that one.
You're gonna look better with Kylie running around too. I mean,
Yeah.
anytime you mess up, he's gonna bail you out too. Most of the time, I saw Tristan Wirfs' athleticism. You touched on it. I saw that dude. I looked him up and I watched him throw high school. He was a high school shot put state champion. He threw that thing a mile.
It's
it was
insane.
I was in awe looking at it.
That's crazy. Yeah, probably a baseball. Who's throwing it?
When you look through all these
Right.
guys, this is going to be my plug to my student athletes. When you look through all these guys, you notice they're all multi-sport athletes. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you got to.
It's true.
Can't
though.
specialize.
All right.
Urban Meyer said that
Yeah.
when he recruits, when he recruited, he would ask him, "You play another sport? You need to have that competitiveness."
Okay, but here's one question. If I run cross country, but I also run the 2 mile and track, is that really two different sports?
That's a little bit different.
It's also just like you're doing stuff all year long. Like you're
Yeah.
not playing football and then playing Call of Duty all winter and then running track. Like it's not like that. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I wish our school doesn't have wrestling.
Really?
I wish some of our distance runners could do that, but we don't have it, so it's just basketball. There were a couple that debated it, and I tried to get them to. You would what?
I would have loved to have seen you wrestle.
Well,
don't they need a wrestling? Sounds like they need a wrestling coach.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. I probably would have been a better runner if I wrestled. I would have sucked at it.
But... You know everything you need to know about high school wrestling.
Am I up with Jacksonville?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. This is the first one, I think, out of what we've done so far where it's pretty far from what I would do. And I'm going to go with Jacksonville taking C.J. Henderson from Florida to replace Ramsey and Bouye. They really love their Florida players, and I think they're going to get a little desperate trying to fill that need in the secondary. I will say I think this is a prime pick to get traded either up or down. They probably won't pick at 9 if I had to put money on it. But that's just kind of where I'm seeing it. I would say my second option would be one of the big 3 receivers, but I don't know. Thoughts on that?
We'll touch on it with Miami too. I hate the idea of drafting a player high, like in the first round, like you would a Jalen Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
Developing him, he becomes the best cornerback in the league, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Trading him away and then just drafting his replacement with that pick.
Same.
I just hate that concept. Miami's going to do it with Laramie Tunsil and Mika Fitzpatrick. Like,
kind of
it doesn't make sense to me.
Lions and Slay and Okudah to some extent.
Yeah. I hate that idea. You're not making your team actually better.
No, the only thing is money saving, but you gotta get real lucky, I think, in free agency to land some impact players because those don't always work out with that saved money.
And if the money thing is an issue, then you shouldn't waste premium draft capital on that position that you don't value enough to pay in the first place.
I'm with you.
I'm with you 100%. Like, what's your end goal?
Yeah. So again, not necessarily what I would do.
Yeah.
I think no one's going to remember this, but the Bengals did this with Kevin Zeitler. They drafted him in the first round. He developed. He became one of the best guards in the NFL. He wanted to be paid like it, and they let him walk. Like, why even take him in the first round if you don't value them like that? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
More teams should be like the Browns, where you just draft bad players and you don't have to pay them.
There you go.
I would like there to be 31 Browns and 1 Bengals. That'd be fun.
I mean, they're doing their best.
So this is, I think, the first time where the draft order kind of mixes up because we have Coleman with Cleveland's pick here to round out the top 10.
Alrighty. So the Browns, they just got rid of somebody who could be described as a former professional Madden player, but also an NFL head coach in Freddie Kitchens because he's probably the worst coach I've ever seen in my entire life. But they did bring in Kevin Stefanski coming over from Minnesota, and I can't remember the exact number, but they ran a significant amount of outside zone as like their main play, and then they ran a lot of play action off of that, and their offensive line was they were practicing social distancing before anybody else.
Before it was cool.
They just wouldn't be within 6 feet of these defensive linemen. But they did get Jack Conklin on the right tackle.
I think that's big.
They really need a linebacker, and some people have been talking about Patrick Queen. Some people have been talking about Kenneth Murray, and Kenneth Murray is a fun athlete. But they need somebody who's going to fit into that system, and they're kind of in a win-now mode with OBJ and Landry commanding like $30 million a year just in wide receiver salary, not even counting Austin Hooper, just getting paid. So they really need somebody who they can put in and really get the ground game working because they still have Nick Chubb, and he's probably like the actual best player on the team. And it's a little controversial, but I just think Mekhi Becton, he doesn't even know what he's doing. But we were watching Isaiah Taylor highlights, of him in high school where he's just
Isaiah
pushing
Wilson.
people. Isaiah Wilson. There's some
Oh yeah.
Isaiah Stewart's a basketball player for the Washington Huskies. But Becton, he just runs into people, and as soon as he gets his hands on them, he's just pushing people over. Like against Clemson, I can't remember who it was, but this defensive end was like 270, and Becton would just pick him up, throw him on the ground. And I think that if you just keep on letting him play in the outside run, because he's honestly fast as can be, and his feet are good. He has good feet. He's quick. He's nimble. I think it's a reach, or not a reach. I think it's a gamble, but they have Bill Callahan as their offensive line. They have Joel Bitonio right next to him. And they have Jack Conklin on the other end. They have Joe Thomas, who's always around the organization. I think if there's one team, as crazy as it is to say, that can really develop an offensive lineman, I think it's the Browns right now. So I think you got to take the biggest upside and go with Becton.
All right. I agree with the kind of get Nick Chubb going thing. I think if there's any way to get Baker back on track after an iffy year last year, it's develop that ground game. And I mean, you got, like you said, you've got some talent on the O-line. You got a really talented young running back. Before you have to pay that second contract, run them into the ground. I guess that's the way of the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mekhi Becton in this situation is going to be Baker's blindside protector for the rest of his career. You trust Becton to do that?
Yeah, I really do, because I think the number one thing that anybody who watched enough Browns games last year or the last 2 years is that when they go quick and when they let Baker do a one-step or no-step drops even, or three-step drops, the offense looks so much better. And last year they would be having Baker taking 7-step drops and having everybody running 45 yards downfield before they could even get a pass off. So I think that the offense really is going to change to be more play action based and more quick throws to get easy yards, especially with the two tight end sets that Stefanski likes to run.
Okay, so before we move on to Brad with the Jets, so we're planning on premiering this, I think. So how about at this point, with the top 10 done, if you're watching right now, tell us what picks you agree with the most and what picks you disagree with, and maybe what you would do instead. Anything else you guys want to add in there? Or are we ready to move on?
No, I like it. That was a veteran move.
we're savvy here on Sensei
Get
Sound.
Get some engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
8 people.
Brad, you ready to get the Jets pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like, I don't know if he's going to be able to stop, Sam Darnold from kissing random women and getting mono and stuff, but you definitely got to protect him with Jedrick Wills here.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
who they're going to take. Their offensive line might be worse than the Bengals, which is impressive in its own right that you would let an offensive line get that bad. Jedrick Wills would be a pretty good place to start.
Which side are you playing him on?
I think you got to try left tackle. So you have right tackle as in case of emergency break glass type situation.
See, I was thinking about that because I think he's a really good right tackle. But if you can't get a training camp this year and they still have you have a reduced training camp, do you think that?
Yeah, you can let him play right tackle, just get comfortable for a year, get up to NFL speed, and then try and move him over. And again, if that doesn't work out, you have a in case emergency break glass thing. He can play guard too, so he's going to play on the offensive line for the next at least the rest of this contract. He is going to play somewhere.
Yeah.
And really, if your offensive line is as bad as the Jets are, that's all you can really ask for.
Mm-hmm.
All right, am I up? Is it time?
It's time.
It's Vegas.
Oh, so I have to think if Vegas
We don't
is...
talk about Vegas here. I'm sad now.
I have to think if the Raiders are on the clock here with Ruggs, Lamb, and Judy here that they got to be salivating a bit. I think it's a little bit split within the organization who they take, but I do think it's one of those three. This is one of the first times in at least a few years as a fan where there's a lot of options they could go with that would not make me upset. So I know that's surprising. I think if Gruden,
Joseph.
I think if Gruden is kind of gets his way, I think it's Ruggs. I think if it's more Mayock, I think it's Judy or maybe like T. Higgins. Um, and I think if you ask all the Raiders fans that try to talk to Mike Mayock's daughter on Twitter, then it's CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to guess it's probably not that one. That's probably the one I would say. But I'm going to ultimately go with Jerry Jeudy. I think like I said, I think if it's up to Mayock, I think that's who they go with. None of those would upset me. And you got to if you're going to keep Carr, which I'm still undecided if that's a good decision, but if you're going to keep him, you got to give him someone to throw it to besides Tyrell Williams, Darren Waller, who's like much older than you think, and Hunter Renfrow that looks like a random stepdad. So that's my thoughts there.
Yeah,
I think it's a
what
really
I'm
good
thinking is, if it's the Raiders, they're taking Ruggs. Like,
Yeah, Al Davis.
Yeah, I guess if Mark Davis gets a say, it's Ruggs too.
But also, the other thing is, the Raiders, they only watch one college football game a year when they do their evaluation. Jerry Jeudy didn't play in that one game they watched this year, so it could be, Justin Jefferson here.
I can
Yeah,
see
honestly, after the whole Cleveland Farrell, like, you never know.
The worst thing is, he's not terrible, Farrell, but if you just flip-flop him and almost any other draft pick from last year, it looks better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's who I wanted.
JoshAllen.com. But
Yeah.
I was in a Discord call with a bunch of people, and there's one Raiders fan in there. When they announced Cleveland Farrell, everyone started buzzing out laughing, and he left the call immediately. It was tough scenes.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is, though, I do think Jerry Jeudy is, like, the second best player in this draft.
He gives.
I think on his knee today. Apparently, he's got some degenerative knees.
I did see that. Yeah, that scared me. That scares me a little bit.
I did not see that.
It gives me a little bit of.
But I think he does everything else.
Me personally, I'm going CD over Jerry.
That's who I would prefer, but I really won't be upset with any of them.
Right.
I wouldn't even be upset with like a Justin Jefferson or any of the receivers for the most part. They need it.
This class is loaded. A wide receiver.
All right. Do we want to go to Brad with San Francisco?
Yeah.
Okay. You got it.
So they got this pick from the Colts after trading away DeForest Buckner. And they're going to do things right. They're not just going to take the pick that they acquired and then draft their replacements. They're not going to take Kinlaw here, although Kinlaw would be good. They're pretty deep on the D-line. They got Nick Bosa, they got D Ford, they got Arik Armstead, they got Solomon Thomas. I'm going to make their strength a strength, and their strength is speed. They're the fastest team in the NFL, sans Kansas City. They're going to take Henry Ruggs here.
Oh, that makes them dangerous.
They're going to put Ruggs on the field with Debo, George Kittle, Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, whoever, and it's a track meet. And it's a vintage 2010-2011 Oakland Raiders strategy.
Except they'll probably be good, right?
Except they'll be good.
They'll have Shanahan coaching and not like Art Shell or something like that. 14 is Tampa Coleman.
Before we go any further, I was going to ask Brad, do you think Jimmy G can actually take advantage of all that speed?
Chicks dig the long ball. Chicks dig Jimmy G. Jimmy G, long ball guaranteed.
There you have it.
I like it.
Tell me the transitive property doesn't work there, Mr. Nate.
I can't say it doesn't.
All right, case closed.
There we go. Alrighty, Coleman, you're up.
Alrighty, so me up 14. Alrighty, so the team of the offseason, their offense is absolutely stacked, but Donovan Smith's all right, but they could really use another offensive tackle. Have I only drafted offensive tackles?
I don't know.
There's a good to fair chance.
Oh no, I took Tua, but yeah. All right, well. Spoiler alert.
You technically had
Andrew Thomas
Chase Young.
I think he's a high floor player, so I think he's going to fit their timeline about as well as any. Sometimes he doesn't. he just doesn't lean on people that well, and he can't really drive people back like during pass coverage or whatever. But I think that he's probably the best bet to fit their needs. They have a pretty decent pass rush because I thought about Chase in there, but as long as you still have Shaq Barrett, not Shaq Lawson, you're and they have Sue coming back and Vita Vea. I think they're gonna be fine there. So I go with Andrew Thomas from Georgia.
I'm definitely in on what you're saying about their timeline. They're in super win now mode with Brady and getting Gronk back today. So, and with Arians coaching, so you need that plug and play right away.
I wonder if they try to trade O.J. Howard for a draft pick.
My guess would be yes, but I don't know if they get it done during the draft or not. Might have to be like a next year.
One. Whatever team that drafts for him, gonna have to decide on their fifth-year option for O.J. Howard quick. And
yeah. I do think that this tight end class being awful though does raise his possibility.
Yeah, it helps his value.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have Denver here at 15. There's been a lot of buzz lately on Twitter and stuff about them trying to move up, specifically for a receiver, to play opposite of Cortland Sutton. In this case, CeeDee Lamb drops right into their lap, so that's who I have them going with. This would make me really salty as a Raiders fan, going to the rival team with the receiver I preferred. But I think it's the smart pick here. You have the young quarterback in Locke who showed a little bit last year, but you definitely want to give him all the help you can. He has Fant going into year 2. Sutton kind of broke out last year. He's getting the weapon in Lamb. They brought in Melvin Gordon. All these pieces around Locke to kind of let him show if he's actually the QB of the future or not. All right. After that, unless you guys have anything, would be Brad with Atlanta.
I do think him and Cortland Sutton is just...
That'd be a pretty
insanity.
crazy combo.
Yeah, especially, and honestly, and Noah Fant too. It's just like 4 6'4" dudes, or 3 6'4" dudes who can just jump higher than everybody else.
Fast too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yep, CD.
Yeah, I think it'll also let them figure out about Drew Lock next year. Because you give them all that, and if Drew Lock can't produce, then you have to get another quarterback.
That's true.
And he's a second round pick.
Lock.
They don't have a 5th year option, so they got to decide on making him the franchise quarterback sooner than most.
That's true.
You definitely got to give him as many opportunities as you can.
That is true.
Really good point.
All right, Brad, you got the Falcons here.
Falcons, I don't like who I think they're going to take. I think they're going to take Caleb on Chason. To them. He reminds me too much of Vic Beasley. And that's another situation where you're just replacing a player you lost in free agency with a draft pick. And I think it's going to be very similar. Him and Pack really, really need to step up and play some sort of defense for their offense. You know, get them on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. I've been kind of iffy on Caleb Von Chason myself. If I'm unsure about him as a prospect.
The dude's a first-team All-Pro on the all-name team, but I just don't know.
I'm with you there.
They're trading up anyway. By all sounds, it's like they're going to get one of those 2 cornerbacks. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as far as edge goes, it depends on I guess how you feel about like Epineza, or however you say his name, but it's really not that strong of an edge draft after Chase Young.
Okay, so
he is the big of it.
Before we go to 17, this would be the halfway point, and I will say that we're over a half hour in. Do we want to make like a part 1 and a part 2 or anything, or do we want to just go for it?
I just put it in one. Yeah, just put it in one.
Hour of power or something like that. Yeah. All right, sounds good.
Unless you gotta go to bed now so you can get up for school tomorrow. Is that the thing?
No, I did have to get up this morning and help a kid with a problem on Zoom, and that forced me to get out of bed before like noon. But other than that, I have no time frame, so why not keep going?
Now that you are a teacher, I have one question. If you are 15 minutes late,
if what?
you're 15 minutes late to class, you as the teacher, and the
Okay.
kid's legally allowed to leave.
I have never heard that.
You never heard that? Oh.
No, I've never heard that for like my specific case. I've heard that for like college
Oh.
classes. I know what you're talking about. It's very much.
I remember we used to make those jokes with Miss Young, and
I know. Surprising as it is, with Nate time being a thing, I've never been late to work or anything. So, um,
wow.
so yeah, that hasn't been an issue yet. So I guess we'll just see.
Whenever they're legally allowed to leave, you gotta let me know.
It's really stress to us to like be in the room since they're all like minors. We have to have like supervision and stuff. So the 15-minute rule I don't think pops up as much. All right, going back into this though, since we're going to continue. 17 is Dallas, and that's Coleman.
Yeah, Dallas is interesting. They need a defensive end. They need a pass rush. They need a corner. They just lost Byron Jones. But kind of like how we're saying, you just don't go and replace the guy. After you lose them with somebody from their position, I think you just kind of go BPA here, and I'd take Javon Kinlaw. They have Gerald McCoy and they have Dontari Poe, but neither one of those guys are what they used to be. And I think if you can get value like that, especially when you're playing in that division where the Eagles have Miles Sanders, you have Saquon Barkley you got to deal with, and then maybe it's just a rumor, but I think Darius Geis is still in the NFL. So if he ever gets on the field, you're gonna have to be able to stop the. So I go with Javon Kinlaw to Dallas.
I think around this pick, that's a good place for Kinlaw. We talked about earlier how we were a little unsure when comparing him to like Derek Brown, but a little bit later like this, I think that's fine. To continue, we have number 18, Miami. That's Brad.
Yep, I do got Miami here. They took Tua in the first round, and we've touched about it a few times. I hate the idea of trading away a player and then drafting his replacement when that player was just good to begin with.
Are we going a Tunsil route here?
They do need to protect. Huh?
I said, are we going with a Tunsil route here?
Yeah. They're gonna take Austin Jackson from USC.
Okay.
Tua's hurt. I don't really like Austin Jackson, but I think they do. I would go Josh Jones here. But again, Tua has one good hip, and I think he has one good hip, and you got to protect the rest of them, and you just got to do that with offensive line. And I've joked about the Jets' offensive line being bad, but I don't know who's on Miami's offensive line. I couldn't name a single player. So they'll take Austin Jackson.
Yeah, I think that's the play here. I guess one other kind of case to be made for trading away and then replacing would be now you have all this talent at the same time, at least. Theoretically, they would still have Tunsil, but you never know with his contract and everything. So at least now they know they got all these young pieces in the building. Moving on, I have Las Vegas again at 19. With them having already picked Jerry Jeudy, that kind of takes wide receiver off. I don't think they'll double dip, although there are some Raiders fans that want that. I got to be honest, if they went Jeudy, Justin Jefferson or something in the first round, it would be tantalizing if nothing else, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they do go corner here, and I got to go down the board a little bit here to Clemson and A.J. Terrell. So he's number 44 if you guys are looking. Mayock loves the Clemson players, so I think that's the pick over Fulton or Gladney or any of those corners, especially after getting rid of Garyon Conley in the season last year, although I don't think that's quite the same like Laramie Tunsil situation because he wasn't really working out for him. So after that, we would go to Jacksonville, and that's Coleman.
It's A.J. Terrell, right?
Yeah, he was number 44, I think, on the rank.
Okay. Well, this is the Jaguars. You already pointed out some of their flaws. You got on a cornerback, and C.J. Henderson. Um, they have Yannick Ngakwe. Did I say that? No, I didn't say that.
Yeah,
Did
I think you got
Yeah,
it.
you got it.
Did I? Okay, yeah. So they have Yannick Ngakwe, who's you guys aren't following him on Twitter. It's actually pretty hilarious.
Him
It's
and
a good
Khan.
time. They have Josh Allen, also on the defensive line. So they need a defensive lineman, but I just got rid of Javon Kinlaw. So I like DJ Chark, but I think that Justin Jefferson would fit in really well here because he can play in the slot, and I do think that he would be able to play on the outside. And his combine was a lot better than I thought. So I got the Jags taking Justin Jefferson right there.
I could definitely see that wide receiver help.
Of all of his snaps last year, only 5 were not in the slot.
Yeah, that's a problem with playing with Jamar Chase because that guy.
That is true.
It was hard to watch Justin Jackson and like watching LSU games, like trying to like scout some of these players and not just big Jamar Chase. It's just
He's so good.
he's a stud.
And Terrence Marshall on the other side, like
Watching some of these corners get bodied by Jamar Chase, I'm just like, well, that happened. So like, let's just throw this out.
He can't even be mad.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase would be the wide receiver 1 in this class if he was drafted.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, moving on. We have 21 Philly. That's Brad.
Well, that's where I wanted to go. Was Justin Jefferson?
That's what I would have said
The
too.
Eagles are desperate for wide receivers, and it's I can't name any wide receivers. You couldn't. I couldn't. I would say Jeremy Maclin.
Do
That would be
they?
wrong.
Do they still have Alshon?
Is it Jason Avant?
Great. Hank Basket, maybe. I don't know.
What's Fred X? Freddie Mitchell.
I know Las
So
Vegas
I'm
has
taking
Aguilar
Jalen
now.
Reagor here. I really Reagor. I'm a bit scared by his combine. He was not as fast as I thought he was gonna be, and he didn't have a lot of separation in college. So that's a little bit of a concern, but I think they can make it work in Philadelphia. So I'm just gonna take Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, I think Rager is actually a lot better than what his combine, or a lot faster at least than what his combine says. I think he's a lot closer to a 4.2 than he is. What do you run like a 4?
He definitely plays faster than what he posted at the combine.
Yeah, and especially he's 5'11". That's not terribly small, especially with that speed.
Yeah, that's probably what I would have said too. That or Brandon Ayuk maybe, but same position, same type of wide receiver too, I think. Or at least similar. Moving forward, 22 Minnesota. That's Coleman.
Yeah. So they did just lose Stephon Diggs, but while a wide receiver would be nice, I really don't like Chenault. And I'm starting to go back and forth on Denzel Mims. So I think they'd be pretty happy if Christian Fulton would fall here. It's pretty rare. And now we just keep on talking about talent on LSU that a cornerback getting drafted 22nd was clearly the second best corner on his team.
Clearly.
But I think Fulton will fit in nice because they did just lose Trey Waynes, but Fulton he has talent, and I think that they run a decent amount of man in Minnesota, so I think that will be a decent fit for them.
The Bengals signed Mackenzie Alexander and Trey Waynes from Minnesota this year. The Christian Fulton, future Bengal, 2026.
It was actually just a trade. It was just player to be named later for Mike Zimmer. You just didn't hear about it.
So at 23, I have the Patriots. And this is where we have to stop and think about the two different branches this pick could go. I currently have the list of QBs pulled up. And I think you got to think, okay, do we go exciting route or do we go interior lineman that people probably haven't heard of route? I think that's really the two options here. And as much as I'm looking through like Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts and Eason and Frommie sticks out, but I don't think they would do that in round one. I don't think they're going to go QB here. I think if they do want to go first round QB, they're going to find some way to move up. That being said, I do think they're going to go line, like we said before, and I think they're going to take Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan. Now, unfortunately, I can't give much more on Ruiz other than that. But building up the line, if they are stuck in this position, they're going to have to keep probably Stidham safe.
Yeah, they did just acquire a 4th-round pick today for Gronk. They could send that to Cincinnati for Andy Dalton. If they do take Ruiz, they're going to trade Joe Thuney because Joe Thuney's salary cap with him being on the franchise tag, I think it puts them under the salary cap. Like, they're over the salary cap, so they got to move him.
Yeah, they're struggling to pay their draft picks right now.
All right. That being said, we have 24 is Norlands, and that's Brad.
Nolans, and we stay in Nolans. We take in Patrick Queen.
Oh, good pick.
From LSU. Dude's like a pinball. He's small and just running through everybody. And he's able to play sideline and sideline. Baited Tua on a nice pick in that game. Queen's going to be just fine.
That's another one that I could see as a Patriots pick. He was the one when I was scrolling down and like, maybe, as I was looking through players. I think that's a good choice.
It's very good. Besides, the Saints have really been hitting on all their players recently, so I feel like he'll be able to fit in.
Yeah, I pretty much trust whatever they're doing at this point. 25, Minnesota, that's Coleman.
All right, yeah, so we kind of already talked about him. The homer in me wants to give them Jeff Thomas, but he's 314th on the board, so I'm probably not gonna do that. But they did lose. Like I said, they lost Stephon Diggs, but currently their defensive end outside or opposite of Danielle Hunter is the pride of Centerville, Ohio, Ifeadi Odenigbo. And I love Centerville, got family out there, but that's not what they need right now. So I think that AJ Epinenza, he's a monster. I think he's 6'6", 280, and he's you can watch him. He'll just push guys back. He doesn't have a lot of moves. He definitely doesn't have the bend that you want, like that Robert Quinn bend, but he can get pressure, and I think he'd be a good fit on the other end of Hunter.
He'd probably slide inside the nickel and nickel defenses too. He can rush the guards and centers and be a bit more effective.
Yeah, that's a good point too. He definitely has the size for it, especially if I think he could stand to put on 20 more pounds, which is pretty impressive as already being 280.
Big fella.
Okay, so I think I have Miami next. With a tackle and a quarterback already being picked with Jackson and Tua. They're probably eyeballing both of these top safeties that are on the board still, and maybe Jeremy Chin as well. My guess would be that they go Grant Delpit here. Having watched some tape on Delpit, his tackling just seems really poor to me. Maybe I picked out a couple bad games to watch, and you guys can tell me otherwise, but he doesn't seem like he wraps up well. He's not shy to tackle, it doesn't look like, and he does cover, but I don't know. Not one of my favorite picks that I would actually make. 27, Seattle. That's Brad for that one.
So they're going to trade back, and also they're going to draft some dude you've never heard. Maybe like a Curtis Weaver, Adam Troutman, Terrell Burgess. You just go down to about 60 to 90.
Troutman,
they're going to pick someone in there at 27. So it's really, really tough to actually mock them. So I'll just do what I think they should do, and I think they should just take Yetur Gross-Matos. They're probably going to lose Clowney.
Yeah, that's true.
They have a need on the edge, and if they could retain Clowney and then draft Yetur Gross-Matos, then you have a strength on the D line. But they'll probably just do a 1-for-1 replacement.
Nate, who'd you draft?
Who did I draft?
Yeah.
Grant Delpit for the
I
Dolphins.
think you're dead on. That they're going to trade down. I wonder if somebody does try to come up for Jordan Love here, maybe Carolina,
That'd be a spot.
or maybe New Orleans even. Try to get that 5th-year option.
Definitely 5th-year option territory is when we start seeing these trade ups.
Yeah.
All right. Coleman, you have Baltimore.
So they're the most dynamic player in the NFL right now, the unanimous MVP. They should probably look into replacing C.J. Mosley.
Yeah, I like Gus Edwards too.
Because they haven't. But at the same time, they did just lose a Hall of Famer on the offensive line in Marshall Yanda. So I think it's sometimes tough to draft just for need. And this might be a little out there, but I know me and Brady have talked about it. But I'm going to go with Nite Muti from Fresno State. You watch this guy in the offensive run game, and he's just a monster. He really is a mauler. He just pushes guys over. A lot of power. He's got a good base. I don't know if he's quite the dancing bear that Mayock loves, but I think he'll fit in pretty well with their scheme because he can get up to linebackers when he's coming off doubles and whatnot.
You're gonna have to tell me what number he is.
He is like
if you click on position, you can just click on position. You see the little plus sign, and then you go to interior a lot.
Yeah, he's like 114, I think.
I can't go that far down because I'm doing like screen capture, and it doesn't let me like.
Yeah, I think he was one.
Click on position and then go to IOL.
Or you can just search find a player and it's MUTI.
How do you spell his name? Who is this person?
MUTI. That's his last name.
Promise he exists. He is going to be very good,
I found him. Okay. I thought you said N. I got to be honest, I don't know who this player is. I'm going to be 100%.
He's one of the few I knew, so that's why I had to reach into him. But I do think he is going to be
those type of players.
Player at the minimum.
Those type of players, though, do sneak into the back of the first.
Interior offensive lineman available, but I could see them taking Muti. They'll probably. This is good trade back territory too, though.
Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of me. It took a lot of me not to draft Lloyd Cushenberry III, just because that's top. That might be my favorite name in the draft, but
that's fair. So I believe I have Tennessee. With Tennessee, I'm going to go with Zach Bond, the edge rusher from Wisconsin. I actually just watched him, I think yesterday, and I was pretty impressed with his pass rush move. So if you use him purely as a pass rusher, and I think like Vrabel's smart enough to do that, then I think he's a really good pick at the end here. He's not necessarily like a run stuffer or even set the edge quite that well, but I think at 29 that's a good value. Green Bay is Brad.
Green Bay, they need to get Aaron Rodgers some help. They got Devontae Adams, low key, probably the most underrated wide receiver. Not the most, but definitely should be in those top 5 wide receiver lists, and he never is.
I'm with you.
I remember I almost tried to drop him from my fantasy team. You were like, "Don't. That's the dumbest thing you could ever do."
I think here they'll take Brandon Ayuk.
Ooh, okay. I had the button over Mims ready to go.
I'm saving Mims. This is probably not as completely accurate.
That's all right.
I really want Mims at 33, so I'm going to make them take Ayuk. They're going to go wide receiver at that position, I think, though.
Now, I got to say, before we move to the last two, I think somebody from around Seattle down is going to trade back and let somebody come up for like Jordan Love if this is how the board played out. Like we've been saying.
No, Jordan Love is off the board at some point in here.
Yeah, like we've been saying, that 5th-year option, they want to sneak in the back end of that first round and get that. Yeah. All right, so second to last pick is the Niners, and that's Coleman.
Yeah, Brad already got rid of or took care of their need at wide receiver.
Yeah, with the Reds, right?
I think they're actually like, kind of stacked at wide receiver because I know we've all talked about him, but I think Jalen Hurd's going to be a really
Ooh, yeah.
really good player too.
Same. I remember trying to trade for him in Dynasty a lot.
He's one of those fun players you want to have.
I know. You just want him to be good too.
Yeah, and then they have. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl, so they're clearly a talented team. So I think somebody that would fit in well with him, and I think it's only right since this is all I drafted, is if I get another offensive lineman in there. I think Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State. He's been getting some first round buzz. He's 102 right now. He doesn't have enough strength, but he's a fantastic athlete, and he's played over 2,000 snaps as a left tackle. So he really just does have the ability and experience. He just needs to keep on getting stronger. And I think playing a year behind Joe Staley would be really well. And in the meantime, he can be just a swing tackle and fill in needs where they need him. So it's kind of a luxury pick, and I expect him to trade down, but that's what I was thinking.
All right, and then to wrap up round one, pick 32, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're going to take DeAndre Swift here and just make their offense that much more crazy.
Jesus.
I know.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to...
Swift goes 101 in Dynasty.
Oh, for sure.
This happens.
I think it's just Andy Reid
Even
basically saying more. What'd you say?
Even in Superflex, I think.
Oh, yeah, even in Superflex.
Oh, man, yeah. I mean, I think I'm just like a you-know-what for quarterbacks, but I think I'd have to go Joe Burrow, especially in the Bengals offense.
Yeah. All right, so that wraps it up. Should I read through the 32 real quick, or is it even worth it? We're at about an hour.
Who do you guys think is like the steal of the draft?
Let's look through real quick.
So I think CeeDee Lamb at 15 is pretty amazing.
That sticks out to me.
I think he's going to be wide receiver 1.
I mean, Wills at 11 isn't bad either.
Patrick Queen at 24 sticks out to me.
About his range, I would expect.
Yeah.
I
think he's going to be good.
If Delpit plays how he played in the national championship game, he could be a steal.
That's true. I don't know.
The steal of the draft might legitimately be Chase Young. Like, I know it sounds stupid to say, but
yeah, I know what you mean, though.
You should go pick one every year.
Yeah. You could say the same thing about Simmons and Okudah.
And Joe Burrow.
Honestly,
you can't be the steal of the draft if you're number one.
I'm going to give it to him, actually.
I need it, thank you.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, that was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah,
we do their 740.
The 740. We kept it to, I think, one bleep. That's pretty good.
yeah, just one bleep. Yeah, I was able to control myself, think before I speak, so.
I appreciate it. All right, so we'll wrap up here. The plan is to premiere it, so theoretically, some of you guys are watching it right now. Let us know what you thought of the overall draft. Same thing we just asked each other. What do you think were some of the steals, and who are you surprised did not get picked in the first round if you're a little plugged into the prospects? We'll see if we're correct at all. Being no trades and stuff, we're likely not going to nail it, but we'll see what happens. All right, see you guys.